Picture a man walking alone, in silence, down a deserted road. The sun was setting, the wind was cold, and in his arms he carried the only reason he had not given up yet, his daughter, frail, weak, struggling to breathe. Every step felt heavier than the last, as if the ground itself was testing his strength. He had no money left, no friends to call, no hope in sight. And the question that echoed in his mind was, does God really exist? In that moment of despair, when it seemed like the whole world had turned against him, a prayer was born. It wasn't a polished prayer, filled with fancy words. No, it was raw. It was broken. It was a cry from the depths of his soul. With tears streaming down his face, he whispered, God, if you exist, prove it now. And that desperate cry changed everything. Because right then, on that lonely road, something extraordinary happened. Out of nowhere, a black car appeared in the distance, silent, mysterious, almost as if it had materialized from thin air. This wasn't just an ordinary car. It was the answer to a prayer. The driver rolled down the window. His face was calm, his eyes steady, and he simply said, "You need help. Get in. You are not alone." The father hesitated. After all, who would trust a stranger on an empty road? But there was something different about this man. A peace in his presence. A strange sense of safety. With trembling hands, the father placed his daughter in the back seat and got in. The ride was quiet. The father could only look at his daughter, watching her chest rise and fall with difficulty. Yet, something unexplainable began to happen. With every passing mile, her breathing seemed easier. Her face seemed brighter, as though an unseen hand was already at work. The driver finally spoke. Faith is greater than you imagine. Don't give up! When they arrived at the hospital, doctors rushed to take the little girl inside. The father turned to thank the driver, but the car was gone. No one had seen it leave. Security cameras recorded nothing. It was as if the car had never existed. And in that moment, the father knew. His prayer had been answered. Days went by. Against every medical report, the girl began to recover. Her strength returned quickly, almost impossibly. The child who once struggled to breathe was now laughing, playing, and running. The doctors couldn't explain it. But the father didn't need explanations. He had witnessed a miracle. That desperate cry, God, if you exist, prove it now, had opened the heavens. This story is not only about a father and his daughter, it's about all of us. Because each of us, at some point, walks down a lonely road. We all face moments where hope seems gone, when no one seems to understand, and when the weight feels unbearable. And it's in those very moments that God reveals himself. Sometimes he shows up through a stranger. Sometimes in a sudden phone call, or through words spoken at just the right time. Sometimes through things we cannot explain. God's ways are mysterious, but his love is always certain. The father discovered a powerful truth. You, Dante, need perfect faith or the right words to reach God. Sometimes all it takes is a broken cry, a desperate whisper, a tear-filled prayer. And maybe you, listening right now, have prayed something similar. Maybe you've said, God, if you're real, show me. If so, this story is your reminder. He does hear, he does answer, and he can show up in ways you never expected. The black car wasn't an accident. It was a message. You are not alone. And I want to tell you the same. Whatever road you're on, however dark it seems, you are not walking it alone. The same God who restored that little girl's life can restore your life too. The same God who answered a desperate father's cry can answer yours. So don't underestimate the power of prayer. Because prayer, ISNT, about fancy words, it's about pouring your heart before the one who listens. Whether it's a cry, a whisper, or even a silent tear, God hears it. And he responds. Maybe right now, at this exact moment, he is answering youth through this story. A reminder that He is real, He is near, and He still works miracles today. If this story touched your heart, share it in the comments below. Subscribe to this channel, leave a like, and let's spread messages of hope together. Because when we walk in faith, we discover that the impossible is only the beginning of God's power.